there's one thing, and I know we've taken up quite a bit of your time today, but I did really want to touch on ethics a little bit, because I think it's truly important. And I love the fact that you actually had a chapter in the book that talked about this. And, I think I guess maybe my question to you, what is that responsibility that we continue to have as marketers, especially as the sciences continue to evolve, the understanding of human behavior continues to evolve? I think we have to be careful with a lot of this information that we're becoming very, very privy to, because it can be used potentially maliciously. So what in your mind really stands out when you think about ethics and maybe even leveraging cognitive branding?
Right. So, as far as ethics is concerned, I think the first part of what you said is very important, which is that we as marketers have to take on that responsibility proactively. Because, and why is that? Because as our understanding of the human brain becomes more and more precise, there is a possibility that you can manipulate consumers. And when I say manipulate, meaning you may manipulate them to do things which are not really in their interest. They're in your interest, but they're not in their interest.
Theirs, yeah.
And so who's going to take responsibility for that? I think that marketers have to take that responsibility on their own. That's one of the big things that I push for. And in the book, I wanted to, again, make it practical. I didn't want to make it very complicated. So I articulate those three simple principles there. One is the canonical principle, which is, do unto others as you would they do unto you.
To yourself, yeah.
And then second is the categorical principle, which comes from Kantian philosophy. And basically, Immanuel Kant came up with the categorical imperative, in which he says that in an ethical society, you shouldn't do something which, if everybody else started doing also, would be detrimental to the society. And, because in the canonical principle, you could say, hey, you know what, I steal from people, so I don't mind if they steal from me from time to time, right? So you could say, hey, I'm keeping it pretty even, but it fails the second principle where, if everybody started stealing, it wouldn't be a good society. And then, of course, the third thing is that, you should do things which meet the sunshine imperative, where if whatever you're doing came out in papers, then you wouldn't be embarrassed by it. So I wanted to keep it simple. It's interesting because there was another lecture that I was listening to from another gentleman, and he had done a pretty big analysis of ethics and so on, from philosophy and so on. And he had 7 different models, going right back to Plato, going all the way to Nietzsche and Spinoza and so on. He had come up with 7 different ethical models that have existed over time. And then, in the Q&A session, I asked him, like, hey, so what do you think Facebook should do? Because, they're going through this whole struggle with whether the platform should be open and people can write whatever it is, even if it's misleading and harmful, or should they try to control that? Particularly, we've seen that in politics. And he said, oh, that's a very complex issue. So, the issue, you don't want to have 7 different models and not be able to apply it to the situation that you're dealing with. Whereas if you look at these 3 simple rules, the first rule is at Facebook, should you be, allowing your platform to be used by people that are trying to harm the country and, put factually inaccurate information to damage the country? Would you want somebody to do that to you? Or you say, hey, if all the other platforms also started doing that same thing, this is the categorical imperative. Would that be a detrimental thing for the society? And answer is yes, right? So, you apply those simple principles. And then, if this thing all came out in the newspapers, would you be happy about it? No. So, that whole Facebook premise of sort of keeping the platform open where people can put detrimental stuff, which can be damaging to young women, which can be damaging to the politics of the country and the freedoms that we enjoy. It fails the test on all those 3 things. And so as a marketer, you would self-regulate. What I would hope. But, sometimes marketers don't do that in time, and then the government steps in and tells them what to do.
Yeah, like GDPR and Castle and all the anti-spam legislation. Like, I think that's sort of evidence of that, right?
Yeah, you're asking for it.